Hey, it is CyberGhost here coming at you with some Netrunning 101. If you're some idiot looking to spice up your Beaverton home, it's time for you to chip in and download Supreme Intel. This is Netrunning in the time of the Red. So you're a meat. You don't know what the frak Netrunning even is. No problemo, Chumbada. I got you. Netrunning, in short, is gaining access to computer systems in order to steal files, disable cameras and defenses, or break through doors, all while various black ice and other opposing netrunners try to thwart your efforts. Most commonly, you'll be hacking your way through these things called net architectures. These can be thought of as an elevator with multiple levels a netrunner can go down and explore. No floor can be skipped, but floors can branch out into multiple paths downward. When on the lowest level of a net architecture, a netrunner can leave a virus, which is the only way to permanently affect a net architecture after you delta. So CG, what the frack do I need to start cracking my way into that preem pay data? Buckle up, Jimbada. Netrunning ain't cheap. Got more options than a Saka Solo on Christmas. First things first, you're going to need a cyber deck. These can range in quality, and generally, the better quality deck you get, the more option slots you'll have for hardware and programs. Page 351 of the base CPR has some pretty straightforward and generic choices, but when you get into Midnight with the Upload DLC, you can really get creative. Secondly, you're going to need to get yourself a set of interface plugs and a neural link. Yeah, Choom, you can't stay vanilla if you want to ride the net, I'm afraid. Gone are the days when TrodeNets let you piggyback. You want to hack? You're getting chipped. The last thing you need is some skill. Not exactly the easiest part. The interface role ability skill, to be exact. This allows you to access the menu and gives you the ability to utilize net actions. Now that's all you need, but probably not all that you should have. I mean, you could vacuum your floor by opening wide, bending down, and sucking in the carpet as hard as you can, but it's not the most ideal way to do it, now is it? The most recommended extra piece of hardware you're going to want is virtuality goggles. These things let you interact in the net while still being completely cognitive and aware of your meat surroundings. Otherwise, you're subject to manually jacking into the net via a cable, laying down on the ground like some corpse while your deck overrides your motor functions, and just wait for some unhinged security guard to make that come true. Disable the override, you might think. Well, then you're only seeing cyberspace at that point, Choom. So unless you want to walk around like a mindless zombie, bumping into walls and potentially disconnecting the cable, get virtuality goggles. You might as well consider them mandatory. Other options you will want are programs. There are some other hardware options as well, and we'll get into that more in a little bit. Let's talk about programs for a nano. There are 3 types of programs that you can run on your deck to make your run go as smooth as possible. There are booster programs, which improve the abilities of your deck from password cracking to extra speed. There are defender programs, which stop or reduce attacks against you. And then there are attacker programs, which are designed to deal damage to other netrunners or programs. Each program instance can only be activated once per turn and remain on until derezzed. Once derezzed, they must be deactivated in order to reactivate, costing a total of 2 net actions. Attack programs are an exception because once activated, they are immediately used and then automatically deactivate themselves. So therefore, using an attack program is only 1 net action. There's a bunch of hardware upgrades you're going to want too, from DNA locking to backing up your programs to insulated wiring to prevent yourself from turning into a living inferno. You're probably going to want to save a slot for hardware option or 2. You can scroll these on page 208 of the base CPR. So let's talk black ice. ICE stands for Intrusion Countermeasures. And these are the types of net objects whose sole purpose is to frak you or your deck up. There are 3 types. There are anti-personnel, which hunt down and kill netrunners. There are anti-program, which kill the netrunner's rezzed programs. And then there are daemons, semi-intelligent programs that control and operate control nodes. Keep in mind that netrunners can use the first two types on their own decks, but they require 2 program slots as opposed to 1 for any other program. Now let's talk about encountering a black ice. These nasty little things lie in wait in a net architecture for some unassuming intruder to come trip them up. Once you bump into one, you immediately make a speed test against it. If you fail, you immediately suffer the effects that black ice can do. These are found in their descriptions in base book. Demons are a type of black ice that are always aware of the netrunner, and thus you do not roll to encounter them. They act a lot like an enemy netrunner, though they're generally pretty dumb and set in charge of control nodes for turrets or cameras or other things, and they have some pre-programmed alerting mechanism. But beware. They will spend any extra turns not controlling the control node to zap the intruding netrunner. Regardless of the outcome of encountering, both get added to the top of the current initiative +1. Therefore, they're always going to go 1 turn before your next one, so you better deal with them quick. There are some other types of net objects as well. There are passwords, which prevent movement unless successfully backdoored. There are files, which is any sort of file, photo, etc. inside of the net architecture. These are generally what we consider pay data, as a lot of the time they'll have some juicy tidbit for you to sell to your fixer or info bro. And then lastly, there are control nodes, which operate cameras, turrets, doors, that kind of thing, over in meat space. Let's talk net actions. At the beginning of your turn, if you're within 6 meters of a net access point, you may decide to either use net actions or meat actions. Let me say that again. Net actions or meat actions. You cannot do both. But keep in mind, if you're wearing virtuality goggles, you get your movement action while in meat space, which means that you can still duck and cover, move out of the way of explosions, or even dodge bullets while you're doing net things. If you decide to take net actions, you get a number of them depending on your net interface ability. These can be found on page 199 of the base CPR. Net actions come in a few different forms, and it's important to know what is and what is not a net action. Let's start with what is not a net action. Well, downloading a file is not a net action. Moving in a net architecture is not a net action. That's right, Choom. You can move as freely as you want inside the elevator. Up, down, left, right, whatever. It doesn't matter. You can go wherever you want, provided you're not blocked by a password. So what is a net action then? Well, jacking in and safely jacking out are net actions. Using an interface ability is a net action. I'll describe those in more detail later. Activating or deactivating a program is a net action. Miscellaneous stuff like operating a control node, reading a file, things of these nature, ask your GM. Remember those interface abilities I was talking about? Let's get into them. There's backdoor, which is used to get past password gates. There's cloak, which is used to hide your presence in the net so no security spider can scope out whatever you were doing in there. There's control, which allows you to take control of things in the net. There's ID, which allows you to inspect a file or other piece of data. There's Pathfinder, which allows you to reveal the depth and objects inside of the net. There's Slide, which allows you to flee from a non-demon Black Ice program. Remember, demons always know where you are. There's Zap, which is just a simple attack program. And remember how I said using interface abilities require a net action? Well, there is one exception, and that's Scanner, which uses a meat action to search for entry points into the net, access points as we call them. Then lastly, the most important one is Virus. Once on the bottom floor, the very bottom floor of any other floor, there's always one on the bottom. You can create something of lasting value. This can be something as silly as turning all the black ice icons into cute, furry little rabbits, to causing a control node completely inoperable, or destroying an entire floor's worth of the net architecture. Remember this. The net architecture resets everything once you leave, unless you leave a virus. Most interface abilities are rolled with a deep 10 plus your interface and then some program bonus if you have it. So it's pretty important to get skill. That's it for my 101, folks. You want the nitty gritty about how these interface abilities actually work in like a 102 follow-up where I actually take you on a net run. Or if you just want any other Cyberpunk Red videos, leave a like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments below. This has been CyberGhost with your overdose of Cyberpunk. If you're looking to get your feet wet with the system, be sure to check out our Cyberpunk actual play by clicking up here. We air every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/saysversedeath. Link in the description below.